First though, British Gas, caring, understanding, considerate. At least that's what their ads tell us.
At British Gas, we know your home is your world. You wake there, you relax there, you cuddle up in the warm there.
And when you're out of the house, British Gas break in there. No mention of that in the ad. Dom Littlewood reports.
Intruders in your property.
I just couldn't believe that someone could just come in and so easily break into my house. It made me feel very invaded and fear for the safety of my kids.
Strangers in your home.
I feel quite horrified that this can happen when you're doing your normal daily business.
Going where they want, taking what they like.
The locks were so badly damaged, there's no way we could enter this property.
This experience can be devastating. So we rely on the police and the courts to catch and punish those who do it.
But what if somebody broke into your home, except this time they had the blessing from the authorities? And what if you, the victim, had to launch your own fight to get any sort of comeback against them?
Well, that's the position Rob and Anne Poole are in. Recently, while his wife was at college, Rob went on a short shopping trip, leaving the house empty. Then, as if on cue, some unwanted visitors came to pick their lock. When the family returned, everything seemed normal, apart from their kitchen chair being out of place. But the next day, they noticed something odd on their wall and some paper with a familiar logo.
I noticed a letter line in the coffee table, and obviously having a read at it, saw that someone had been in my house from British Gas.
The intruders weren't burglars. They were working for our biggest energy supplier. They'd turned up without warning, entered the house without asking, tore out the regular meter and put in a British Gas prepay one without apologising.
And if you think that's bad, it gets worse. You see, the Pooles weren't even customers of British Gas.
They get their energy from Scottish Hydroelectric.
And that's whose meter was removed. It's also who the Pooles paid their bills to, regularly and on time.
The Pooles hadn't been customers of British Gas for over 2 years, and they'd already paid Scottish Hydroelectric with their monthly budget. But thanks to British Gas, they're now being forced to pay again.
This is what we're now using. It's using up a lot of gas, a lot more than we did before, and it's got very little gas in it just now, so I'm going to have to go and put £20 in it quite soon, again.
You'd think that after being told about their mistake, the company would have swiftly swapped the meter back, but they didn't. They merely offered the family a toolkit to compensate them for their troubles, along with cinema vouchers. What they didn't offer was a clear explanation.
For people to treat you that way, it just makes you feel very angry. I just feel it's been dealt with in the worst possible way, and people don't seem to have the answers that we want from them. We need to know why this happened, and it just clearly shows that nothing's been done about it, and nothing's been done to assure us that it won't happen again.
But could it happen again? To them, to me, to you? British Gas are legally entitled to enter anyone's home if the householder hasn't paid the bill and won't let them in. They do need a warrant from a magistrate who must be satisfied that their information is correct and that in most cases they've issued a prior warning. But, according to some, this doesn't offer full protection to innocent families like the Pooles.
How can the magistrate be sure the information he's getting is accurate?
You can't. I think there's a real danger it's being abused if lines of communication are not correct. It may be that the person who's applying for the warrant actually believes what he's being told, but it may be there's been some sloppy investigation. It may be that information is not up to date. That's where the problem arises.
Well, hang on a second, so what safeguards are in place to make sure that British Gas are giving correct information?
Well, there really are no safeguards. That's the problem. You have to take what you're told at trust if you're a magistrate. You know, many times if they knew that this evidence that was being given was inaccurate, they wouldn't grant the warrant.
We don't know how many homes British Gas forcibly enter or how many times they get it wrong. The company won't tell us. But the press and Watchdog have had complaints. One came from Peter Morris, whose company trains people to look after the elderly. He set up a British Gas account when the company moved into this property in Essex. The unwanted visit came shortly afterwards.
We had a phone call from the lady that runs the cafe opposite, saying that the alarms were going off. On arriving round here, I could not enter the property using the keys, but I noticed that they actually drilled through the locks, totally destroying the locks.
The men who destroyed them had come to cut off the electricity, claiming there were outstanding debts of £3,500. But it turned out those bills had been run up by a previous tenant. Once again, British Gas had got it wrong.
They could have rung us quite easily. The numbers are here. There was numbers in the window stating that we've got another office around the corner. We would have been here within 5 minutes if they'd have rung us. We didn't know the first thing about this.
So how many more people have received this sort of unwanted visit? And how many other times has British Gas failed to check its facts before breaking in? And when will they start living up to the claims they make in their ads?
Which is why we're committed to calling ahead, letting you know we're on our way.
And why don't British Gas get in touch with people before they decide to break in? The cost of a call won't dent their profits, up 58% to $595 million, a record. What's the answer?
They say they take their responsibilities in this area very seriously, which is why they complete rigorous tests before applying for a warrant. They admit that in our two cases they'd made a mistake. They have apologised. In the first case they blame human error. With the pools they say an industry-wide database hadn't been updated, which is why they believed that their meter had been tampered with, which it hadn't.
OK, they've offered a toolkit and a night at the movies. Are they serious? I mean, there's been all the distress, the inconvenience, the hours on the phone.
Not surprisingly, the pools weren't satisfied, but the company have told us that they will cover the cost of any expenses incurred due to their mistake.
A good lure could certainly put a lot of noughts on the end of that.